As you know, October 7th marks the one-year anniversary of the horrific attack against Israeli citizens, the kidnapping of hostages, many of whom have died, many of whom are still being held. Since then, there's also been a horrific war in Gaza, which doesn't seem to have gotten us any closer to getting those hostages released. But luckily for both sides, the United States has been working tirelessly since then towards, well, I'll let our former president explain.
For weeks, I've been advocating to pause in the fighting.
I've been working tirelessly.
Relentlessly focused. I've been working nonstop. I'm engaged in this day and night. We're working around the clock. We are closer than we've ever been. We're very close. We're close. We're close.
We were so good. He stopped to get ice cream once. But other than that, it was all ceasefire all the time. Now, if you don't mind, I'm seeing what's going on over there, and it's making me a little bit hungry. I think I'm going to grab myself a little something myself. I'm going to take a little. I just shot ice cream into my eye. Ice cream is, I give the president credit, very dangerous treat. I'm going to take a big bite of my ice cream cone as I find out how our ceasefire efforts are paying off.
Israel launching an all-out assault on Hezbollah in Lebanon over the weekend.
What? So worth it. Wait, we've been working tirelessly for a ceasefire in Gaza and then in Lebanon? The whole point was we're going to downgrade Hamas. We're going to attack the terrorists there. We're going to get the hostages home. What did Lebanon do?
No country can accept the wanton rocketing of its cities. We can't accept it either.
But you've also been wanton rocketing. What kind of rocketing are you doing in Gaza, if not wanton? And by the way... Really? That's how little criticism they faced. By the way, Lebanon is also a country. What makes you think they're going to accept your rocketing or whatever other James Bond shit you've been up to?
Thousands of wireless pagers simultaneously exploding across Lebanon.
Exploding pagers. Lebanon expected Israel to attack from the south, but instead they attacked from the 1980s. What? Ooh. You know what Lebanon should do? Yeah! Well, Israel, got any quarters? By the way, quick message for our viewers who are under, let's say, 45. This is a pager. Let me come over here. This is a pager. This is a pager. I'm going to put it over here. Not really sure where we bought those from, so. You see, there was a time back in the olden days when we didn't have cell phones, but still wanted to buy drugs. You would ping your local neighborhood dealer on his pager. What? And then he would come over and say something like, "Are you going to smoke all of this yourself?" And then you would say, "Do you want to come in?" And the next thing you know, you're driving him to Schenectady. The point is, stay in school. But yes, Israel, Yisrael. Israel remotely exploded all of Hezbollah's pagers and walkie-talkies, which is why going forward, Hezbollah will limit its communications to the message boards on nudeafrica.com. Because no one will ever find out the things that you post on nudeafrica.com under the username "I am Mark Robertson, candidate for North Carolina Governor 836. No one will find out. Help. Now, we know the Americans have been working tirelessly on a ceasefire in Gaza through countless hours and all 31 Baskin-Robbins flavors, apparently. But this new conflagration points to another outcome the United States has been very much trying to avoid.
From day one, since October 7th, it's been one of our primary objectives to prevent the conflict from escalating, from spreading to other places.
Prevent an escalation or widening or deepening of this conflict.
We have been laser focused on trying to prevent that wider war since October 7th.
I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for.
Why would you be looking for that? You know what I'd love? A wider war in the Middle East. Well, now that a wider war has broken out in the Middle East, this is President Biden yesterday talking about what we're going to do about it.
We're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out.
How f***ing wide does this war have to be before we call it a wider? Well, without Turkey, it's still technically in the margins. Look. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a wide war until it includes Mongolian archers. Come on! What are we doing? And by the way, if this isn't the wider war, then what is this?
It continues to be a very dangerous situation, a very difficult situation. It's a very difficult, volatile situation, and the situation could escalate at any moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so it's not a war; it's a volatile situationship. A friends with Bombafits, if you will. But what if? What if you really want to experience the full cognitive dissonance and language calisthenics that have to be deployed to describe the Middle East over the last, 4, 5, 6, 10,000 years? How we're describing I give you the golden soundbite brought down from Sinai to explain how fucking convoluted this has to be.
What the Israeli government is saying, and the Biden administration is in many ways subscribed to this idea, is de-escalation through escalation.
Or as that is sometimes called, war! That is World War II! Look at the subhead. De-escalation through escalation. I mean, do you even hear yourself? My God, the de-escalation through escalation? That phrase is, where have I heard? It's right out of, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find. Hold on. No, it's not in there. Hold on. Let me see if I can find. No, it's not in there. Let me see if I can find. Oh, my God. John, that cat has wreaked havoc on your bachelor lifestyle. Although I do take issue with one of Garfield's bromides. I happen to love Mondays. It's the start and end of every work week. Though I hear Fridays are nice, but here's the worst part. The country that's providing all the bombs to the Middle East, or I guess now we have to call the bombs escalators, seems to have no idea when these bombs are going to be used.
We were not notified by the Israelis about their strike or the intended target of their strike.
First, this is something we were not aware of or involved in. The United States did not know about, nor was it involved in these incidents.
Oh, they're not telling you anything, huh? Have you checked your pager? I mean, my God, there have to be other ways of achieving de-escalation without all this respectful exchange of missiles. Historically, that part is generally followed by years of sorrow and bloodshed. And we know there have been opportunities for de-escalation, but Netanyahu did not seem particularly interested in it. Oh my God, I've criticized Netanyahu. What have I done? Go ahead.
The people who are criticizing the prime minister, it is shameful, it is pathetic.
We should be standing shoulder to shoulder with our strongest ally in the Middle East instead of launching this criticism.
They criticize them for going too far constantly, and that gives Hamas comfort.
I'm sorry?
Criticism of the war is shameful, and it gives comfort to Hamas. You know who might be surprised to hear that? The Israelis, who are unbelievably critical of the war and Netanyahu.
ראש הממשלה לא הישיר מבט לציבור ואמר את האמת, שהוא לא יביא את החטופים בחיים.
What you gonna say now, motherfucker? Get off my back. You heard what he said. He said, Does anyone have a Google Translate on what he said?
The Prime Minister did not look the public in the eye and tell the truth, that he won't bring the hostages alive.
It's a total failure, the Israeli government. No strategy, no vision.
He is trying to do everything to prevent a deal.
He don't have any intent to end this war.
Netanyahu is lying as he breathes.
What anti-Semites? The former Prime Minister of Israel and Defense Minister are. But still, people are going to see this segment and go, all right, maybe Israel isn't perfect, but criticizing them feeds the fire. Don't you worry about anti-Semitism? And to that I say no. I believe anti-Semitism will be fine. I gotta say, not for nothing, but from what I've experienced, it's very resilient. And it's not really tied to any event or war or activity or reality. For God's sakes, Kanye thought we ruined his Adidas deal. We just need orthotics, that's all. Anti-Semitism will survive this war like it survived all wars, going back to the brave Hebrews at Masada. Do you see, Rabbi? I was paying attention in Hebrews. But you know what? You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the blame the Jews from the Black Death to the Spanish Inquisition to the space lasers will all go away if Israel does right, and peace will reign. And people will no longer baselessly and conveniently blame the Jews when things don't work out exactly the way they want them to.
This is the most important election in the history of the United States. I'm not going to call this as a prediction, but in my opinion, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with a loss if I'm at 40%.
Son of a bitch!
Donald Trump. According to polls, he's deeply unpopular with women. Maybe it's because of his legally adjudicated record of sexual assault. Maybe he forgot their birthdays. It's hard to say. But the fact is, he needs to win them back, and he knows it. So last night, he turned on the old Trump charm.
Sadly, women are poorer than they were 4 years ago, much poorer, are less healthy than they were 4 years ago, are less safe on the streets than they were 4 years ago, are more stressed and depressed and unhappy.
Ooh! Excuse me, you really know how to flatter a lady. Please tell me more about the bags under my eyes. I love how he's acknowledging that we're stressed out as though he's not the one stressing us out. This is like Boeing being like, weird how people seem so freaked out about air travel these days. Although it's not true that all women are poorer, E. Jean Carroll seems to be doing pretty well. a master marketer. That's how you sell things to women. You convince them that they have a problem, and then you say, here, buy these vagina gummies. And yes, in this analogy, Trump is the vagina gummy.
I believe that. I will fix all of that and fast. You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared. You will no longer be in danger. You're not going to be in danger any longer. You will no longer have anxiety from all of the problems our country has today. Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
I'm actually meeting someone here. I have a boyfriend. Thank you so much, though. You're thinking, how can Trump expect women to support him when he took away abortion rights? Well, luckily, he has an answer for that.
You will no longer be thinking about abortion because we've done something that nobody else could have done. It is now where it always had to be, with the states and a vote of the people.
Yes, the states where women live. Remember that thing that you could always depend on because it was legal everywhere? Well, now it's up for a vote every 2 years in every jurisdiction forever. That feels better, right? No need to think. Don't think. Just don't think. But of course, the winner of this week's Shitty Men competition has to be North Carolina's Mark Robinson, candidate for governor and horny Carl Winslow. Last week, it was reported that Robinson spent years posting on the porn website nudeafrica.com. Yeah, he called himself a black Nazi and wished he could buy slaves. He talked about his love for trans porn, even though in public he denounces trans people, and he allegedly wrote detailed fantasies about his wife's sister that are so explicit, I only feel comfortable reading them to you if I replace all the nasty words with the word Smurf. So, here we go. Okay, here it is. Right when I was really pumping this Smurf shoot good, she shot a long, hot stream of Smurf up in the air that covered my chest and Smurf. It was so smurfing hot. She was smurfing, I was smurfing, she was smurfing, and I was covered in Smurf and Smurf juice and Smurf. Damn. There goes my childhood. Now, normally, even if one of these things were reported about, you'd probably lay low for a while. But Mark Robinson is not a normal person.
New this morning, Republican Mark Robinson, fiery and defiant.
While this country is literally facing a crisis situation on the world stage, while our border is wide open, while our businesses are struggling, while folks are dying from fentanyl, while crime is spiraling out of control, you folks want to focus on tabloid trash, and quite frankly, I am sick of it.
Yeah, people, listen up. There are real issues at stake here. Inflation is so high, America's MILFs can't afford to pay their pool boys. Utilities are so expensive, young men are forced to shower with their stepmoms. Cities are so strapped, the MTA is raising prices on the Bang Bus. American families are so poor, they're living ass to mouth, and immigrants are stealing all our jobs, hand and blow. Now, in her speech, Kamala was emphasizing her middle-class roots, while in his speech, Trump was saying, nuh-uh.
She never worked at McDonald's. It was a fake story. It was a fake story. She said she worked at McDonald's and she didn't. It was a lie. She never worked at McDonald's over the hot French fries. I think I'm going to a McDonald's in 2 weeks, actually.
Did Trump just talk himself into getting hungry? She never worked over the piping hot fries, so crispy and salty, each bite a perfect... We should go to McDonald's. Let's go to McDonald's. Let's go. So Trump's new conspiracy theory is that Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's when she was young, which to him is basically stolen valor. How dare you disrespect our men and women in uniform? Those people served with honor and with extra ketchup packets, if you ask. And yes, it is ridiculous that Trump is asking to see Kamala's birth certificate. This isn't the kind of thing you would lie about. It's not like sex with a porn star while your wife is pregnant. I get why he's suspicious. If she had ever worked at any McDonald's between the years 1960 and last week, he probably would have seen her. Or maybe this whole thing is just a ploy for him to get free food. You worked at McDonald's, prove it. Make me 7 Big Macs. But look, here's the thing. Trump and Kamala weren't supposed to be doing this stuff today. Originally, there was another debate scheduled for tonight. And The Daily Show would be broadcasting live, but there was no debate, and we are not live. In fact, if you're watching this right now, I'm already at home in bed, watching videos about how bad it is to look at your phone in bed. And now it's looking more and more likely that the first Trump-Harris debate was also the last, because while Kamala keeps saying she's down for a rematch, Trump wants no part of it.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. It's too late to do another. I'd love to in many ways, but it's too late. The voting is cast.
I'm sorry, it's too late. I'd love to have my ass handed to me for another 2 hours, but there's just no time. There's no time. There's no time. I mean, I can't blame the guy. People don't typically volunteer for a second beatdown. Drake's not going to Kendrick like, hey, we should beef again. Send me some dates. Get it on the calendar. But then again, there's only 40 days until the election. There is no time to lose, which is why Trump is working overtime to make his final sales pitch. And it's not the one you think.
Hello, everyone. I have something incredible to share today. We are announcing the launch of Trump coins, a true symbol of American greatness. Each coin comes with a certificate of authenticity with my signature to ensure you have purchased a real Trump coin. I've seen a lot of coins out there using my very beautiful face. I'm a very beautiful guy. I'm only kidding.
I'm only kidding. Apparently, there are some lies even Trump can't stand by. But Trump is right. There are a lot of different Trump coins floating around out there, and you don't want to be scammed by some grifter's fake coin. You want to be scammed by Donald Trump's fake coin. And that's why Trump's coin comes with the certificate of authenticity, which authentically certifies that you should not be in charge of your family's finances. Now, if he was just peddling this coin, I would understand what with all the legal bills he has to pay for the fraud and the sexual assault and all the Big Macs. But this is just the latest in a long line of junk he's been hawking all campaign season.
By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins. The launch of World Liberty Financial. We're embracing the future with crypto. I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible. Hello to my fellow patriots. We have some very big news. My new book, Save America, published by Winning Team Publishing. We're going to remember SneakerCon. That's the real deal. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate. So they just came out with this T-shirt, which is really pretty spectacular. And it's selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, so Trump is selling a lot of stuff. And keep in mind, this is all in the middle of a campaign season. Is it me, or does it seem like maybe his true passion is this? Like healthcare, he only has a concept of a plan. Bible hawking, he has a whole warehouse ready to go. In fact, Donald, why don't you just do this and, forget about the whole presidency thing? Stick with what you're good at. If it helps, you can sell a commemorative coin from when you retired from politics. I'd buy that. New York City's Mayor Eric Adams. He's known for a lot of things, from clubbing downtown to clubbing in Midtown to clubbing during work hours. He's having the best time, and the party is never gonna end.
Breaking overnight, indicted New York Mayor Eric Adams facing criminal charges. An historic case.
For the first time, a sitting mayor is facing criminal charges, indicted by the U.S. Southern District here in New York.
Can someone check if there's bottle service at Rikers? So yes, this is a historic and sad day for New York City, which is why the subway masturbators were flying their sweatpants at half-mast this morning. Yeah. Now, to be fair, Adams is, of course, innocent until proven guilty, although it would be a lot easier to believe he wasn't doing crimes if he didn't dress like a gangster from Guys and Dolls. But the question is, what exactly is Eric Adams accused of? Let's find out in our new segment, Suspects in the City. I couldn't help but wonder, how could the mayor be in trouble with the law? We know how much he follows the law because he tells us all the time.
I just strongly believe you have to follow the law. I cannot tell you how much I start today with telling my team, we gotta follow the law.
See? As we know, the most trustworthy people are the ones who are constantly telling you how trustworthy they are. You know, it's like how most faithful spouses start every morning reminding themselves not to cheat. If you got one of those ladies, hang on tight, don't let go. So what's the mayor in trouble for? Well, according to him, it's for simply caring too much.
I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became.
Oh my God. You did that for us? Oh my God. Oh my God. And I knew it. I knew that when you said the city should put garbage in garbage cans, they would come after you. I knew it, and they did. They did. I mean, unless there was some other reason why they indicted you.
The indictment reads like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, describing a politician who wanted to travel beyond his means and did so with the help of Turkish nationals.
On numerous occasions, the mayor would fly on Turkish Airlines, which is primarily owned by the Turkish government. In October 2016, they purchased economy tickets valued at just over $2,200 and received free upgrades to business class worth about $15,000. In 2017, Adams, a family member and a staff member, accepted free business class tickets worth more than $35,000.
Let me get this straight. I've heard of politicians getting paid off in bags of cash, in fancy cars and gold bars, but this is the first time I've heard of selling out the city to get medallion status on Turkish Airlines. I mean, come on, buddy. If you want to get bumped up to first class, just say you found a pube in your pretzels. It works every time. Every time. And if you're wondering, isn't Turkish Air an inconvenient airline to have your bribes paid in? You're right.
According to the indictment, Adams insisted on flying Turkish Air through Istanbul even if it was out of the way. When his girlfriend asked if he wanted to vacation in Chile, he repeatedly asked her whether Turkish Airlines flew there from New York City.
Ugh, our mayor is bad at crime and geography. Oh my God, this isn't just embarrassing as a mayor, this is embarrassing as a boyfriend. Hey baby, Hawaii sounds fun, but what about a 3-hour layover in Istanbul and then Estonia? It is the Hawaii of Eastern Europe. So Turkish Airlines is the quid. Wait till you hear the pro quo.
The indictment detailing an alleged quid pro quo, writing that Adams intervened with the FDNY to permit the Turkish consulate to occupy a skyscraper that had not passed a fire safety inspection.
This is the worst bribery deal ever. Listen, if you slip me a couple $100,000, I'll make double sure there's no fire extinguishers in your building. You can thank me later. This This is so upsetting. It's a sad day in New York City when foreign nations are bribing the mayor to rush permits. That is the mob's job. Okay? Those should be American bribes. American. Now, a lot of politicians are saying Adams should resign or at least hide his face in shame. But what do real New Yorkers say?
I think he should resign.
I think so. He's not good. He deserved to get out.
There's always been a mayor. There's going to be another one. What's the big deal?
Wow. New Yorkers feel the same way about their mayor as most people do about the Fast and Furious movies. They're all bad, and there is definitely going to be another one. Maybe one reason New Yorkers aren't too worried about their mayor being indicted is that we understand the city government is so much more than just one person. The Adams administration is full of civil servants doing their job honorably, like the police commissioner.
Embattled NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban was forced to resign amid a federal investigation into influence peddling involving his twin brother.
Okay, so the police commissioner also had a scandal, but you can always get another police commissioner.
Just days after being appointed, interim NYPD Commissioner Tom Donlan's homes have been raided by the feds.
Okay, police aren't everything. It's the school system that matters.
Schools Chancellor David Banks becomes the latest appointee to announce his departure as he faces scrutiny after FBI agents seized his cell phones.
Oh, not the chancellor. Who will make sure the schools are canceled? Jesus, is there anyone in this administration who isn't under investigation?
Banks is among at least 15 other members of the administration that are currently under investigation. Banks, his two brothers, Phil and Terrence, as well as his fiancee, Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright.
Agents searched the home of Adams' chief fundraiser, Brianna Suggs. New York City Sheriff Anthony Miranda and his office are being investigated over money confiscated from illegal pot shops. Investigators searched the homes of Winnie Greco, the director of Asian Affairs.
A senior aide to Mayor Adams, Tim Pearson. Were there any kind of kickbacks going on?
Business dealings between Frank Carone, the one-time chief of staff to Mayor Adams, and a Monsignor named Jamie Gigantiello.
Oh, my God. Fox News was right. Crime really is out of control in New York. But this is actually kind of impressive. Adams has assembled multiple branches of an administration, all committed to a shared vision of breaking the law. I can't even get my coworkers to go apple picking with me.